So that would mean that it would be our responsibility to know the truth. At some point, I tell people all the time, there's a phase in our life where we've seen enough despair that we know what works or what don't. I'm sure as we mature into adult physically, there's a spiritual aspect, but we know what carnally, worldly, physically destroys a vessel. You know, there should be a definitive line for what sin is and what comes with that sort of life. The conflict or the disorder that it can bring in one's family, future, life, humanity. You know, as I've said many times, I have had to bury people that I loved, that I held very dear and clear to me. And that's why they say, you know, what a generational curse is. Someone else's dysfunctional life can put an affliction on you. A child becomes poured into them. That's why if a child is watching a lot of sin or despair, it will change their view and perspective on life. They'll start growing colder and number. People's hearts and minds fail them for the things that come on the earth. So they start growing numb to the things that should be very painful to them. So they'll settle into that darkness and think, well, this is just the way life is. And that's not the truth. Don't trade the truth for a lie. Don't trade the truth for a lie. Don't allow your children to suffer under a curse. You know, you're supposed to be the one to break that off and say, wait a minute, I want better for my child than what I had. I want them to have a better future. I want them to, you know, and I realize that not everybody's given the tools and skills. That's why I speak of broken homes raising broken children. And then it gets worse and worse as each lineage grows under that manifestation or corrosion. And that's very unfortunate. And that's why I preach about the things I do. Because I have enough love in my heart to be hated by people that don't want to deal with their pain or their wounds. Because that's what darkness is. And that's the territory for the enemy to get a hold on your life. You know, your failures, your disappointments are what the enemy is going to use to his advantage in your life. Wait a minute, you're never going to amount to nothing. You're never going to be nothing. You know, what that man or woman told you was everything. That's true. It was all true. And now that you're in despair or in defense, that's what I felt like the enemy was using, like people's wounds, trauma, pain, and trials that they've faced in life. That was his power over the people. You know, like, wait a minute, even though this world oppresses the people in the world you have trials and tribulations, but that's the enemy's advantage. Like, you have to know, like, some of the greatest prophets were sinners. Your greatest wisdom will come from your life trials. You have to say, wait a minute, I've seen this before, I know it didn't work. Or this happened to me before, I know it didn't work out too well for me. To say we haven't sinned is a lie. We can already get past that. I know I was born into sin. I was a sinner. To say I haven't sinned, there's no good in me but my sin nature. And Christ freed me from that. You know, he showed me the truth. He showed me my truth. So then I can see when I took the motes and beams, examine and judge myself, and, you know, self-deliverance, I did that, and I'm walking sanctified. Now I know what people are suffering from. Like I said, he made me feel like he was making me be everything I said I wouldn't be, so I could understand why people are where they are at. And I can return back to places I've been or where I've had, you know, relationships fail me, and they're still doing the same things, but just with somebody else. And that's unfortunate. Yeah, I forgive them. I could talk to everybody from my past. It doesn't bother me, because that's what forgiveness does for you. You know that in your maturities you made those mistakes. They weren't meant. Nobody means to fail things in life, you know, but I could go back and be like, how you doing now? When there's no emotions or mental things, there's no attachment. There's not an ungodly soul tie, you know? Like, the desire is no longer there. Like, sometimes people are drawn to certain people. Their characteristic traits are flaws, you know? And these are the things you have to acknowledge in like that, because nobody can make you date them. Nobody can make you like them. There's something in you that's drawing you to somebody like that. I tell people all the time, you'll date the same person and I don't think about dating, but as many times I've stated before, if I did consider that, it wouldn't be somebody who's living in sin. The things I desire are different now at this cross. I choose to walk alone. Like Elijah, he walked alone when the Spirit of truth depended on your purpose. It's just your desires change at the cross. And while I was here, until I stopped doing everything I was doing and to tell people about the Lord. Because hindsight, I always done that. That's when I had to talk to. Even as a little girl, I can remember always being drawn to the Lord. No one ever introduced him to me. It was something I found. It doesn't make them the bad person. It makes them a strong person. And people value that. To examine and judge yourself. It must be done. It must be done. How do you figure out who you are and what you're here for if you don't question everything you know about yourself and stop living in confusion? Sin is confusion, chaos, disorder, rebellion.